Hi everyone, welcome to our series of Wise Talks events. This is our second one, but going forward we'll be bringing you great stuff every month. As an introduction, I'm Sian, I'm CMO at Wise. I've been here for nearly 3 months. My probation review is actually next week, so hopefully I'll be here next month. But I've been a customer for over 8 years and really proud to be part of this journey. On my first day at Wise, I arrived to discover that an amazing team had just pressed a gigantic big red button on our rebrand and domain move from TransferWise to Wise. And that was kind of like the best present ever to start your new job with. Changing your brand after 10 years is something you don't take lightly, and the complexity of what it means to actually make it happen is quite hard to fathom. I was at The Guardian when we just changed our URL, and that was a monstrous piece of work. If you're an SEO person, I'm sure you've seen some of the horror case studies. If you're an engineer, I'm sure people just telling you to do a find and replace is never the actual reality. And if you're a designer or someone in branding, you know the pains and debates about a simple logo change. We had to do all of that in a short period of time with some really clear KPIs and objectives to deliver upon. So I'm really pleased to have two superheroes, Tessa and Lucia, with us today, to talk about their learnings and insights from having worked on this project. I think it will inform and inspire you about what is possible. So what I'll do is I'll let them introduce themselves, and then I'll just cover some housekeepings, and then we'll kick off our talk. So Tess, who are you and what do you do?
Thanks, Ian. So I'm Tess. I am the Global Head of Product Marketing here at Wise. I've been at the company for about 4 years now. And so I was in charge of running the positioning strategy and the launch campaign for the rebrand. And that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Awesome. And Lucia, same question to you too.
Yeah, so my name is Lucia. I'm the SEO Product Lead here at Wise. It's just been 4 years since I joined, and I got to deal with all of the fun technical SEO stuff.
Amazing. So a bit of housekeeping. If you do have questions, we will get back to you after the event. If you're watching on Facebook, just leave them in the comments. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, just leave them as posts within the event. That means we can get back to them after the stream. If you do want to cheer and whoop, go for it. I will be, but just stay on mute during the presentation. That's it from me. I'll leave you to enjoy Tess and Lucia's most excellent adventures in rebranding and domain moves. Tess, over to you.
Thanks, Ian. Cool. Okay, so as I mentioned, today I'm going to talk a bit about how we developed our positioning strategy and executed on the launch campaign. And really our intention today is to share a bit of the process that we went through and what we learned along the way, in the hopes that it will be interesting and hopefully maybe even helpful to anyone who's watching who maybe works on a similar project in the future. So for those, first of all, who maybe don't know Wise very well, our mission is money without borders: instant, convenient, transparent, and eventually free. And the company was founded in 2011 by two Estonians, Taavet and Kristo, to solve a real problem they both had: trying to move money between currencies, but getting stung by banks on the exchange rate. Since then, we've gone on to solve other problems for customers moving money in lots of different ways. So we basically think about this in 3 main problem pillars: sending money across borders, managing multiple currencies, and the underlying infrastructure that sits underneath all of that. But all of that is underpinned by that same unified mission. So fast forward 10 years, and Wise has over 10 million customers. We operate in 70 different countries. We help people move money in over 50 currencies, and overall, we move around £5 billion every single month, which is pretty good, we think, decent progress. So why on earth would we mess with that? So let me give you a little context, first of all. If we take the UK market, for example, we have around 60% brand awareness for international money transfer, which is great, but our awareness for other products that we offer is way lower and wasn't moving. And we had this big perception problem that looked like this. It's called TransferWise. It must be for transferring money. And what we really wanted to try and tell people is that we are so much more than transfers. Because over the last 10 years, we've built these incredibly powerful products solving cross-currency needs. So right now, today, you could sign up for a Wise account and get an account that holds 50 different currencies that you can convert in seconds with tiny fees and the real exchange rate. Also get account details for 28 different countries which means you can receive money in 9 currencies completely free, like a local, transforming the way you can get paid from friends, family, clients, customers all around the world. You can get a debit card, you can spend in almost any currency. It'll auto-convert your money from whichever currency you have with the lowest possible fee, so you don't even have to think about it, totally transforming travel and international e-commerce. You can get a business account to save your business money on every international transaction, from invoicing to payroll to travel expenses, you name it. And if you're a bank or a big business, you can integrate with our platform so you can offer our services to your customers. So we're at this place where we're like, okay, well, how do we dispel this notion that we are just transfers? So we're not just transfers. We're actually not just trying to change the name here. It wasn't a question of like, okay, cool, we'll just take the word transfer off our name and that'll solve everything. Obviously, that's not it. The point is, this isn't actually about changing our name from TransferWise to Wise. It's repositioning our products to change the way people think about us. And at this point, it becomes almost a pure product marketing play. So thinking about how do we reposition all of our products in an effective way to achieve this. So the first thing we did is work through our positioning strategy. I think we maybe have some PMMs in the audience today, so a lot of this will be really familiar ground for you guys. And for anyone who's read April Dunford's book, obviously awesome. We definitely learned a lot on her framework. You'll recognize some things there. But for the purposes of today, I've just simplified this down to 4 parts. And it starts with customer insight. So we already knew a lot about our customers, but we ran a bunch of additional research just for the positioning work. So first of all, we looked at insight with high NPS customers, because we wanted to get crystal clear on how we position for the customers we serve best, especially digging into things like rational and emotional value that we offer them. We also spent a lot of time on framing, so product framing with prospects. So these people who have never heard of Wise, but have a use case. So we're exploring things like, what do they understand about an international account or a multi-currency account or a borderless account? What are their expectations of what these products should do, who they're for? And we ran this research with 2,000 customers in some of our top markets. I think it's the UK, the US, Australia, Germany, Brazil. And it was kind of fascinating to see, like, even in markets where you think we're speaking the same language, our perception and understanding of the framing of this stuff can differ wildly. And we definitely learned a lot through doing that. We also looked at organic search. So we looked at the demand for each of these product framings by market and how that varied. And we did a lot of user testing. So this is actually maybe my favorite thing that we did around the insight work. So we created Figma files with an unbranded product shot and a single line description, loads of variations around user testing, asking customers, like, what do you think this product is? Who do you think it's for? And most interestingly, how does it make you feel, this one line description? Because by doing that, we then started to understand where our key messaging variants were functional versus exciting versus aspirational versus emotive. So we did all that work on the insight side and then took it to our positioning team. So we actually had a great crack team of a mixture of cross functions. So product, marketing, design, copy. The idea is to get like a good mix of people in the room. Obviously, we're doing all of this in COVID as well. So we had to get a bit inventive about how we were able to do these workshops. So some of the stuff that I think really helped us was like collating user testing summaries very thoughtfully ahead of meetings, sharing video clips of live user testing reels, doing remote dot voting on messaging that we wanted to go and test, and running internal surveys to positioning teams to get qualitative feedback. Lastly, we did a lot of messaging testing. So fortunately, we have an excellent UX research team who helped us do this. And at this point, we're testing messaging in place. So this is all of our assets mocked up already. And we're looking at customers and non-customers. And I think we ran something like 40 different types of testing covering usability, comprehension, readability, feeling and behavior. So basically the goal there is like, do our customers understand really clearly why we're changing our name? And do prospects who've never heard of us understand the value that Wise products offer? So the output of all of this sort of strategy work is 2 main artifacts. So it's our positioning canvas and our messaging house for each product. anyone who hasn't used positioning canvases before, they're really useful layout of showing very clearly the key value of your product. So it's like showing your competitive alternatives, your unique attributes, your rational emotional value, those sorts of things. But once you've done that, you then need to tell 2,500 people in the company how you now intend to talk about these products in the future. So this is actually really hard to do. Like, you can't just expect people to look at the documents you read. You have to kind of take it on the road a bit. And one of the things that we did that I think was kind of a fun and effective way is we filmed a mock BBC 10 o'clock newsreel where we had someone from the PR team interview myself and the product team, product lead, and talking about how we were positioning our Wise products in the future to give to all of our customer service agents. Because at the end of the day, these guys are on the front line. They are answering customers' questions. They're the ones who need to be really fluent in how we want to talk about these products. So that's kind of fun. And basically, if you do this well, like, everybody's on message, your CS agents, your PR teams, your marketing guys, your creatives, and like your creative briefs and design briefs and copy briefs start to kind of write themselves. So right now I'm going to show you one short clip of how we brought this messaging to life. And well, you can decide whether you think we landed it effectively or not. Just going to let this roll. Cool. So just to wrap up on the positioning work, I think if I had 4 big takeaways from this, it would be these. Anyone who's planning on exercise around this, repositioning, rebranding, April Dunford's book, obviously awesome, brilliant. She's a wizard, helped us a ton leaning on her framework, so I would definitely recommend that. Secondly, take people on the journey. It can slow you down a little bit if you're trying to race ahead and get stuff done, but the earlier that you involve your copywriters, your designers, your creatives, and the folks that you're going to need to help you with execution, the easier it is for them to buy into your vision ahead of time. Thirdly, I would say definitely test globally. Like, it's so easy to make assumptions about how people understand things, especially if we're all speaking the same language. So that was really important for us. And then lastly, don't assume people will read the documents that you lovingly put together. You definitely have to take those things on the road a bit and help everybody understand what you're trying to say to the world about our products. Cool. Okay, so then you've done your strategy work. Now you actually have to pull this thing off. I'm going to run through real quick just what it takes to actually get this done for us. This is everything that we shipped in 4 months. And it was a lot. And I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, but I'm just going to highlight some of the things in this that were kind of cool and maybe some of the most challenging parts and stuff that didn't go as well as we liked. So first of all, you've got to get a new domain. This is a laughably simple slide for an exercise that is actually incredibly difficult. I'm not going to go into this because Lucia is going to talk about the domain migration in a lot more detail in a second. But having got the new domain, new name, we need a new logo. And I think we tested something like 150 logo concepts explored before landing on this new one. If anyone's interested in design, I'm pretty sure there's a blog article on the Wise blog about the design process around this. Go and have a look. I find it was fascinating. And we'll share the link afterwards. We built 2 interstitials on web and mobile so that our customers could understand what was happening. They didn't go to TransferWise.com, end up on Wise.com and totally freak out. We now designed 2 new cards, which are starting to be delivered to customers around the world from this week. We negotiated 6 new social media handles, which if anyone has tried to do this, it's actually incredibly difficult to do. One pro tip I think we had from the social team was, if you are trying to do this, contact your account manager as early as possible. Even if you haven't got all of your stuff figured out yet, the earlier you do that, the easier things go. We created 7 new explainer videos. So in changing our name, it meant we also had to change every single marketing asset on the site, which meant in amongst that 286 website changes. So we ran the great find and replace project to catch everything in product that needed to be changed to rebrand end to end. We also had to update 1,087 creative assets. So think about every ad, every channel, every platform that we do marketing on, they all had to be updated, which is a huge effort. And we sent 8.5 million emails to customers to tell them what was happening. We actually offered customers a free card to celebrate the change of name, and drove so many card orders, we ran out of stocks. We had to stop sending emails. But yeah, that did a good thing there. Cool, so having done all of that, you get to this question. How do you know if you've been successful? There are some very obvious things that could go really, really wrong, but how do you know if you're doing this right? We had this huge goal to fundamentally change the way people think about us, which is really hard to do. So we actually boiled it down using a kind of OKR model to 6 core objectives, which were these. So can we rebrand the entire product without breaking anything? Can we migrate 10 million customers without driving churn? Can we update all our paid marketing without affecting performance? Change the domain without losing organic traffic? Land the message that we're more than transfers? And change the homepage without losing conversion? So this is very high level how we think we did against those. So rebranding the product, 286 pull requests, 20,000 lines of code, 0 major incidents. So we're pretty pleased with that. Migrating our customers, it's probably a bit too soon for us to get a really clear read on turn, but we migrated everybody over 1 month with less than 500 contacts. Updating paid marketing, we saw a bit of fluctuation on paid search, but generally conversion rate and payback is pretty stable for most of our marketing channels. Change of the domain, the riskiest part, and I'm going to let Lucia talk about that in more detail. Landing the message, our PR team secured over 300 media stories, 99% on message, really positive social sentiment. And again, that really low number of contacts made us feel pretty positive about landing that with customers. And then lastly, changing the homepage. So this is one area where we definitely changed our plan before the launch campaign. And we basically ran an A/B test in Australia in January, testing like a brand new homepage with totally different messaging, of moving away from pure money transfer. And we saw about an overall -4% drop in new user conversion. So we took the decision not to change everything at once and instead to iterate on that design and continue to A/B test, which is what we're doing at the moment. Other stuff that didn't go as well as we'd liked or that caused a few problems, the interstitial also saw a conversion drop from existing users. Anyone who's worked in conversion optimization will tell you that any kind of friction on your homepage and you're going to see a drop. So that kind of was as expected a little bit. I think for us that it was important to find the right balance between using this to help customers understand what was happening versus affecting conversion. So I think we killed this eventually maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of planned schedule. Then my personal favorite, we hired a street artist to paint our shiny new logo on really quite a big wall in Shoreditch outside our office. And he asked us at the time, we said, do you think you need a stencil? And he was like, no, we can totally do this freehand. Anyway, this is the kind of expectation versus reality. Fortunately, our social media teams had a pretty fun time in the end. And I think there's some quite good threads on Twitter about this if anyone's interested. So just to sum up on execution, we have a very strong retro culture at Wise, and our product team and our marketing team both did process retros at the end of this whole campaign to figure out what was difficult for us and what we could have done better. And I think these are the big ones really. We set ourselves super ambitious timelines. And I think when you work at a company like this that is always fast paced, that is actually not going away. So one thing that we are working on as a result of that is getting a better process for communicating dependencies between teams, especially between product and marketing teams, so that when we do move timelines, other people aren't affected. Second thing that was tough for us is cross-team stakeholder feedback at this kind of scale is really hard. So we have this autonomous team structure, which means we are brilliant at being nimble and moving fast. But when you have a project like this, that is literally touching every single product team in the company, looping in the right people and getting the right feedback at the right time is really difficult. But I think there were two things that really helped us. The first of which was having very clear and strong project owners and work stream owners. And they communicated brilliantly throughout the projects, and that went really well. And lastly, like making a huge effort on company-wide communication. Like, I can't stress this enough. We definitely used everything in our toolbox to do this. You know, we were doing the CS videos that I mentioned, like really strong documentation on Wiki, presentations in our company, all hands, transparent retros. Like, the more, it really is more at that point. Okay, so that is everything from me. I'm going to hand over now to Lucia to talk us through the domain migration.
Thanks, Tess. Okay, let me now take you through the SEO side of our rebrand story. As any of the SEOs in the audience will confirm, domain migrations are risky and can easily mean that you wake up with all or most of your organic traffic gone, just like that from one day to another. For an international online-first company like Wise, it was especially important to get it right. Typical domain migration with Rebrand goes something like this. Your dev team creates a copy of the new website in staging. The new domain is no indexed or IP whitelisted. SEO team then just makes sure that all of the technical best practices are followed, crawls the old website and the staging environment to spot any potential problems. And then on the D-Day, your infra team flips the switch and directs all traffic from the old domain to the new one. It's a little bit simplified, but that's it in the nutshell. We knew that it wouldn't be as easy for us pretty much from the beginning, even though I don't know when domain migrations are really that easy. First, just take the sheer size of our website. We have almost 16 million indexed URLs on Google. This means that any manual intervention or custom redirect mapping or anything like that would just not scale. Then there is complexity of our website. It's split across many GitHub repositories owned by different teams that are all completely autonomous, as mentioned. There's also the fact that the different parts of the website are built in different frameworks, including React, Java, and we have multiple CMSs. And lastly, not every part of the website had a staging environment that we would have available for crawling and testing. Yeah, and on top of all of that, we knew that our customers will always come first. Sorry, Google. And that's because we have more than 10 million customers and move £5 billion every month. We simply could not risk or afford any sort of outage or any disruption to our service. Plus, since we take trust of our users very seriously, we wanted them to know about the new brand and the new domain as soon as possible. As a result of all of these challenges, we opted for a phased approach, which meant that the new domain went live before the actual domain switch. And this is how we did it. We analyzed and tested the new domain well before anything else. Wise.com was not a brand new domain. Actually, it's been around from since the earlier days of the internet, as you can see from these lovely screenshots. It passed through the hands of multiple companies before it landed at TransferWise. This means that there could be some history attached to it in the form of possible manual or algorithmic actions, which for non-SEOs means that basically Google might not be showing your website in their search results, or less than ideal backlink profile. That's why we decided to do a very thorough history and backlink analysis, and including registering in all major webmaster consoles such as Google's, Yandex's, and Bing's. We also tested indexability quite early on with placing dummy content on the domain while it was still unavailable for normal browsing. Second, get the team set up right. So regular coordination between SEO and product meant that SEO was at the heart of every decision. While we have close to 50 SEO experts in Wise, we don't have a single central SEO team. Instead, we built a custom skill-based task force across the SEO teams that we have, which took care of the technical side. We also organized an internal SEO Bug Bounty program for Q&A. This turned out to be quite fun. I mean, nothing better than a little bit of competition inside your team, as well as efficient. We caught over 100 previously unreported SEO issues before they reached users or Google. Next, break it down. As I mentioned earlier, we opted for the phased approach to minimize space for mistakes. With so many moving parts and teams involved, this turned out to be quite crucial. We have defined a clear set of KPIs to move from one stage to another, and a detailed project plan across multiple teams that had to be met before moving to the next phase. And this is what it looked like. So phase one basically meant that we went live with the news that TransferWise is becoming wise, and that this means a new domain. We have launched the new domain at the same time, available to access to everyone, but have disallowed crawling the domain in robots.txt, with an exception of the homepage. Again, for non-SEOs, robots.txt is a file at the root of your domain that gives instructions to bots, including search engines, about how to deal with a given website. In this case, we have asked them not to crawl any part of the website apart from the homepage. We did this to get our customers on board as soon as possible. They trust us with their money, after all, and we wanted to preempt any potential fears of scam or phishing once the migration would be in full swing. Phase two meant that we offered our website visitors an option to check out the new domain early and then get redirecting from then on. We did this to start getting testing data as soon as possible and wanted to make sure that the new system will not back under the full traffic load. Next phase, we started redirecting users from a single geo. We made sure that it wouldn't be a geo where we know that there is a big search engine activity from, to increase the sample size and monitor impact on the contact rate, as well as on the conversion behavior. We basically wanted to make sure that our customers have no problem interacting with the new site and brand. Phase four was the key SEO stage, when we started redirecting all new, meaning cookieless users, including bots and search engines. And lastly, a few days after the phase four, we have started redirecting all new and existing users, which effectively meant the end of TransferWise.com. As domain migrations can become complicated very quickly, we decided to keep the number of changes as low as possible. We have separated the domain migration from any further changes to the platform, URL architecture or navigational changes. And lastly, we wanted to automate as much as was possible. With a website as big as wise.com, editing anything manually just doesn't scale. That's why we built a custom host finder library that was consumed by both Java and React parts of the website. And that meant that we didn't actually have to change HTML attributes and tags such as hreflinks or canonicals. We didn't have to update internal linking or references to the brand name. Plus, for our one-off landing pages, we used Python scripts to interacting with our CMS API to update any visual assets with the old logo at scale. And some cool observations from along the way. So first one, different search engines handle new domains and domain migrations differently. So maybe unsurprisingly, it was quite a bit harder to get the dummy content indexed by Google compared to Bing and Yandex. But interestingly, Bing was much less willing to recrawl the new domain's homepage based on some cached information from about a decade ago. And as a result, immediately after the new domain launch, we got accidentally indexed everything apart from the homepage, which was the exact opposite of what we wanted. Next, if you can't get access to your website server logs, use them. We spent last few months obsessively monitoring how Googlebot interacts with the new domain and realized that they definitely don't crawl all of the parts of the website with an equal appetite, even immediately after the site move. On this screenshot, you can see, well, it's a bit small, but maybe you can see the frequency of Googlebot hits over 30 days after the site move being triggered, broken down by the URL locale. For example, the GB locale of one of our SEO products got much more attention from Google than the rest. And then there's branded traffic. Even though we have changed our brand name, both Google and Bing made the connection quite fast. Within 30 days, we started ranking first and got the knowledge panel for the new brand, which was really cool. And yes, some other learnings maybe to keep in mind if you do this at home. Sitemaps matter, especially if they are well structured. It meant that we had much better control over our crawl budget and better monitoring of how much got already crawled and indexed by Google. That meant that we were aware of any delays in crawling and knew what stage we were at any single point of time. Second, testing on a small sample paid off. I'm referring again to the phased approach. We have avoided at least one incident that would have impacted all of our users otherwise. Yeah, and lastly, in addition to content and code freeze, maybe consider tracking and attribution freeze as well. This is just to make sure that you absolutely have guaranteed access to traffic and logs post-migration, but also so you can identify if there are any and if there's any impact on performance where it's coming from. That's it from me.
Awesome. Thanks, Lucia. Just to wrap up, we just wanted to say it took a huge effort to pull this all off. They say it takes a village to raise a child. Turns out it takes over 2,000 people, 50 product teams in 13 different countries to change one name. So I just want to say thank you to all of the Wisers who are involved in that. It was a real honor to work with them every day. So for any of them who are watching, thanks very much. You did a great job. And for everyone else, we're not done yet, far from it. So this is really just a shameless plug for anyone who is interested in solving like complex customer challenges. We're hiring in nearly all departments in nearly all markets. So if you're interested and you want to come and help us solve some of these, get in touch. That's it. Thanks for watching. We hope some of it was useful. I'm going to wrap up here and pass it back to Sian.
Amazing. A huge thanks to both of you for sharing all those juicy nuggets. I found it super interesting and a testament, as Tess said, to all the hard work at pulling this off. I hope everyone else listening was taking as many notes as I was. As a reminder, we will pick up questions from the threads on both Facebook and LinkedIn shortly, and we'll be announcing the topic of the next Wise Talk pretty quick soon. Thanks for joining, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Are we still broadcasting?